Once upon a time when we first moved in, Tony Richardson was a neighbor of ours and owned and occupied this home. A couple years later, he'd moved and decided to rent it out. And so there's been renters in the home for probably consistently from early 90s until maybe about 6 years ago. And then 6 years ago, the renters left and the home became unoccupied, and it just became abandoned. And so there was no one left to care for the yard or the home, the shrubs, the fence, etc. Electricity was turned off, water was turned off, it just essentially abandoned. So for a couple of years, the neighbors on both sides of them and other volunteers in the community helped mow the yard and it just keep it from becoming an unbearable eyesore. And then a couple of years ago, we had got to the point where the neighbors became frustrated and no longer wanted to spend their weekends caring for someone else's home. So we contacted the city, the county, ended up contacting the media, and a news story was aired, which helped generate awareness as to what was going on. So what you see here now is a significant improvement from what it was a couple of years ago before the news story aired and we were able to get some assistance from the county and the city. We have a large raccoon family that's been living large in the attic for several years. The raccoons are about this big in diameter. They enter up here on the base of the chimney and go into the attic and bring all of their family and friends with them. And so over the last year, the amount of feces has built up in what we know to be certain sections of the attic. One in particular is above the front door. And so that soffit has collapsed now 3 times because of the amount of feces that built up and it laid on the front porch. But the city was kind enough to come back out within the last couple of days and repair it a 3rd time. Hopefully it will last now until the new owners can take occupancy. But they've done their best to board up the hole that's visible. You can see where the missing shingles are above the door, but they have been unable to patch the hole by the chimney. It's been a long journey getting to this point, and we're so glad that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I was one of a couple that attended the sheriff's auction just to see it through to the end. We were here when it began. We wanted to see it through at the very end and just be able to report back to all the homeowners that have been so patient with this property over the last 6+ years. So we were glad to give that report that yes, it's sold, someone purchased it, provided them the timelines and tried to set expectations that it's not going to be next week that they're going to start to see construction on the home, but hopefully in a few months.